Alright, hello everybody. Hopefully this is loading for you. So if I haven't already met you, my name is Mackenzie. I'm going to be leading you through our project today. We're going to do a game called Pong, and we're going to add in some game screens to it to make it a little bit easier to go through and change some information about our game and just to like break it down into different sections, if that makes sense. So take this time right now to sign into Code Naturally, start a new sketch, and make sure you make it in advanced. And if you guys have any ideas for other projects that you want us to do, just put it in the chat box. If you need help logging in, let us know. And then if you're ready to go, let us know as well in the chat box. And then if you are all ready to go, you can also subscribe to our channel to be notified when we post new videos. You can like this video if you like it. That would be awesome. And then, like I said, let us know what you guys want to learn. We're really here to give you content that you are interested in. So if there's a project that you're stuck on that you want help with, or an idea that you've had that you want help with, just let us know in the little chat box, and we will be sure to try to schedule that as one of our projects in the coming weeks. All right, I'm just gonna move my code down so you guys can read everything that I write, because if I left it up high, it'd be blocked by the screen box. What would I call that? The video box, So like I said, let us know when you're ready to go in the comment box. Doesn't really look like anyone's jumped in there yet, which is fine. So I'll just give you guys a few more minutes to get logged in, get your project ready to go, and then I'll get started. I'm just going to make my canvas a little bit smaller. This is just something I always do during projects, not something you have to do. All right, so I'm going to assume that everybody is ready to go at this point. So let's get started. So we're going to make the game of Pong, but like I said, we're going to add some game screens in. This is going to help us transfer from a win screen to a lose screen to a play screen to a home screen, all of those different elements of the game that'll just help make it look a little bit more polished. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go right in between function setup and function draw. And I'm actually going to make a variable called game screen, and I'm going to make it equal home in quotation marks. So that means that our game screen will automatically go to home. And what we want to do now, inside of function draw, we're basically going to make a conditional statement. And inside of that conditional statement, we'll do all of the code for our home game screen. So for example, if I did if game screen equals home, then what I want to happen is maybe I want the background to be a certain color. Let's pick a nice color. Let's do a pink color. All right, so this is now seeing this. It's saying, okay, the game screen does in fact equal home, so I'm going to make that background that color. So take this time to just quickly like design your home screen. Let's just put like a title and a button to press for play. So you don't have to do like the code for the button yet. We can do that together. So I'm just going to do text size, I'm going to make that 30 probably, and then I'm going to do text, I'm going to do all caps for Pong. Let's put it at like 200, 150. Let's see what that looks like. Not great. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And that looks pretty good to me. So now I'm just going to add a button in, and I'm going to make the button have text that says play in it. So I'm going to do a rectangle, have it go from 200, 200. Let's be 200 wide and maybe 100 tall. It's a little bit too tall. I'm going to do 50 tall. And like I said, yours does not have to look exactly like mine. You can totally change it up, make it look however you want, choose a different color background, choose a different font. You can do the text font command. You can make the text size a little bit bigger. All things that you can just add in to make it your style. And then I'm going to just put the text in that says play. Oh, and it's too big. Yeah, I usually don't use the built-in font that just automatically gets applied, but you can totally do that. And if you guys need help along the way, just go into the chat box and let us know, and we'll try to help you out as quickly as we can. Okay, so everyone should have something that looks kind of similar to this. If you know how to do a button, you can start doing it right now. If you just need a little bit of help, need a reminder, then just follow along with me and I can help you out with that. All right, so I'm going to add the code for my button right inside of this conditional statement. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to do mouse X first, is greater than 200, and that always happens when you're doing conditional statements, so I'm just going to comment it out. And make sure that you're doing all of this still inside of the curly brackets of if game screen equals home. So if mouse X is greater than 200 and mouse X is less than, let's see, 400, then what I want to happen, and as soon as I put that in, it's gonna come up like that. I just saw a question about what kind of fonts there are, so it's basically any web-based font, so like Comic Sans is one, Times New Roman is one. Trying to find the list in the book. If you guys have a book at home, they're super useful for finding this sort of information. If you don't, that's totally fine. We can find it in other locations. You can Google web-based fonts and it should come up. I guess I'll just change the font for this one to follow along with you guys. Let's see. Let's go to page 60 in your book. Alright, let's look at the text fonts. And you want to do this just right above where you create your text. So we'll do text, capital F-O-N-T font. And then you can put in, let's see, Book Antiqua is one, Times New Roman, Arial, Helvetica, Comic Sans MS, Impact, Verdana, Courier New. Those are just a few, so there's a ton that you can use. And when you put them in, you want to put them inside of quotation marks. and then write the name. So I'm going to try impact. There we go. That looks pretty cool. So now maybe I'll put some spaces between the letters. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. So yeah, try out a few different fonts. I'll write in the comments a few different ones. Okay, so now that we've got a nice font in there, I'm going to go back to making my button. So I basically said if my mouse's x-coordinate is greater than 200, which is the left line of my button, and it is less than 400, which is the right line. So now what I need to do is the y-coordinates. So if mouse y is greater than, let's see, 200, and mouse y is less than 250. And like I said, you guys, if you're already done coding this, or if you don't know if this is like maybe the right project for you, comment what you want us to do. If you guys tell us what you want us to cover in a class, then we can totally make that happen. If you don't tell us what you want, then we won't ever be able to do it, but we're working on making some new YouTube videos that you can reference, as well as hosting some new live classes. So let us know what you want to learn. So if the mouse is pressed, all right, so now you should have 3 opening curly brackets and 3 closing curly brackets, and some of them are going to be, oops, oh man. Some of them are going to have comments in front if you did it the same way that I did. And it's going to look like kind of a mess, but I'm going to use the pretty button to just help reorganize everything. Only use the pretty button if you have semicolons on the end that are like set up and ready to go. If you don't and you use the pretty button, then it will totally fall apart. Okay. So let's see. Let me go back and find my Pong project so that I can follow along step by step. All right. And we actually are going to use rect mode center in this project, so it's probably best to put that in now. It's going to kind of mess up the button that I already made, but I can easily just fix it and just make the center 300 225 instead. And my button will still work as long as I move my there we go, my button. Okay, so I want to say if the mouse is pressed, then what I want to happen next is I want the game screen to equal a new game screen, and that game screen is going to be called play. You can give these game screens any name that you want. I like to just name them the screen that they actually go to because it's so much easier later on. And then if you want to add anything else to your home screen, you would put it inside of this little area that holds all of this info. But for now, I'm just going to do a new game screen that is still inside of the curly bracket of function draw, but not inside of the curly bracket of the game screen. So now I'm going to make a new conditional statement that says, okay, I made that new game screen. Now, if the game screen equals play, then, and this is where I'm going to type all the code for my game. All right. Okay, so this is where we're going to type in all of the code for our game. So this is where I'm going to start getting into the directions that I'm finding in the book. So if you have a book with you, one of the Code Naturally workbooks, then you can go to page 140 and you can follow along with me. If you don't, that's totally fine. There's no reason that you need to have it. So I'm going to just scroll down here. And we want to make sure that we are writing this code inside of these two curly brackets. If we do it outside, it won't work the way we want it to. And then another thing that I'm going to do to just make it so I don't have to click the play button every time that I want to see what my code that I'm working on looks like, I'm just going to change the game screen up here to equal play. And when you do that, it'll be a lot easier for you to see what's going on the screen. So if you're having problems right now, I would check your spelling of game screen. I would make sure that if you use capital letters, you use the same capitals later on, or vice versa with lowercase letters or numbers. So you just want to make sure that your variable for game screen looks exactly the same everywhere that you are referring to it. So now I'm going to move down just a little bit to if game screen equals play. And this is where I want to do the design for my game. So we're going to make a background first. And you can choose any color you want. There's no reason that yours has to look just like mine. I'm going to just go for a nice blue color. Okay. And this is also a good time for you to check if your button is actually working. So if you change that game screen back to home, click on the play button. Did your background change to that color? If not, you might want to double check your spelling or your button parameters, so the lines that you made for your button. But if it worked, that's awesome. You're on the right track. All right, so now we need to make 4 more variables for our project. So we want to make a variable called LX. So we're basically going to make 2 paddles for this game, one on each side of the screen. And we're basically going to have the left paddle be LX and LY, and then the right paddle is going to be RX and RY. So for LX, we are going to make that equal 100, and for LY, we'll have that equal 250, and then we're going to have RX equal, let's do 550, and then RY is going to equal 250 as well. Okay, so we're going to link those up to some rects that we're going to make for our paddles, but we're not going to get there quite yet. Oh, actually, yeah, let's do that right now. So we're going to use these variables to make paddles for our game. So basically, like the way you play Pong, you have a paddle here and you have a paddle there, and they move up and down using arrow keys, and you have a ball that goes in the middle that like pops out from the top, and you bounce it back and forth with the paddles. If it goes past your paddle, then you lose, or maybe the other team gets a point, depending on like how easy or hard you want to make the game. So, all right, let's start making the paddles. So we are going to make a rect that is 25 units wide and 100 units tall. And I want to put that at LX and LY. Then we're going to do, is that right? Oh, I did that the wrong way. You can see where my brain is today. Okay, LX, LY, and then 25, 100. That makes a lot more sense. There we go, that looks good. All right, so we want to do the exact same thing for RX and RY. making it 25 by 100. Okay, so I'm going to move my left paddle to the left a little bit more, so instead of 100, I'm going to make this 50, just because I like the way it looks when there's the same amount of space between the side and the paddle itself. So, scroll down here. I so far have my background and my two rectangles. If I'm going too fast for you guys, just let me know in the chat box. If I'm going too slow, let me know in the chat box. Any comments or questions or concerns you have, just let me know. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is have our rectangles move using our key commands. So you can choose if you want to have them be maybe like up and down for the right paddle and W and A for the left paddle. I think that's probably what I'll do. This game is a two-person game, so it's best that you have two different key commands. Notice that I'm going too fast, so I'll slow down a little bit. So we're going to start by making our key commands. So once you have in your rects, we are going to do those key commands. I'm going to just slow down a little bit for you guys. So I'm going to just enter down. And then for our key commands, it's if key is down. So a conditional statement that basically checks if a certain key is down. So if key is down, and then you make a set of parentheses, and you want to put in your key command that you want it to check. So if what key is down. So let's go to our settings, and you're going to want to turn on your key picker for this part. And when you go to your key picker, you can choose, so I'm going to start with the left one, and I want it to move up and down with W and A. I think that that's going to be the easiest way to do it. So, or maybe W and S. No, I'm going to do W and A. So I want it to move up if I press W, which is key code 87. So inside of the parentheses, I'm going to put 87. And then I need to say what I want to happen. So when I have my W key down, what I want to happen is I want my left paddle to move up. So I don't want the X value to change. I don't want it to actually move left and right. I just want it to move up and down. So basically what we're going to do is we want the left Y coordinate to get smaller, because if you're going up on the Y coordinate, the numbers get smaller and smaller. So I'm going to say Ly equals Ly minus 1. And I'm going to test this out. Awesome. So you guys can choose if you want the paddles to go faster than this. I think I'm going to make mine go a little bit faster. And the way that you would change that is just by changing the number 1 to a bigger number. All right, now if I press W to test it, it moves up pretty fast. I'm okay with that. Okay, so we're basically going to make 4 of these key commands. We already made 1. So you can either just copy and paste it down here, or what you can choose to do is retype them. I'm going to retype at least one of them, and I'll let you guys choose if you want to copy them or if you want to type them again. Maybe I'll type all of them because it'll be just as fast as you guys copying and pasting them. So for the next one, I want my left paddle to move down. So I'm going to say if key is down, and it's really important that you guys do a capital I and a capital D for this. So key, capital I is, capital D down. If you put spaces in between the words, it won't work. If you do lowercase instead of uppercase, it won't work. So I'm going to go over to my key picker again, and I'm going to choose that I want the A key to be my down key, so 65. And then what I'm going to say now is I want the LY to still be the control. I don't want to change the X value. I don't want it moving left and right. I just want it to move down. So I'm going to do LY equals LY plus 1. And the reason that I'm doing plus 1 is because as you go down on the Y coordinate, the numbers get bigger. So let's test this out. Looks good. And I just noticed that I made the speed slower for that one, so I'm going to want to fix that. Okay, so now it moves up and it moves down, and it works pretty well. Okay, so now I'm going to do my right keys. So I'm going to do the same thing, if, and then a set of parentheses, key, capital I is, capital D down, and then another set of parentheses right next to it. And I'm going to have this one be the up and down arrow keys. So the up key is 38. So I'm going to type 38 in right there. Then I want to say what I want to happen. Again, we don't want our X to move. We don't want it moving left and right. We want it to move up and down. So for that, I'm going to say RY. I'm going to make it equal RY minus 3, because as you go up on the Y coordinate, the numbers get smaller. All right, I'm going to make one more of these. And for this part, you really want to pay attention to those curly brackets. You don't want more than one key command inside of a set of curly brackets, if that makes sense. You want, if you click the little button on the side, you should get a nice little sandwich that just holds the information for that key command. If you have more than that going in there, you have an issue with your curly brackets, so go in and check those. So for this one, I want to do the down key. I'm going to go back to the key picker, click the down key, and it's 40. And I'm going to say inside of those curly brackets, RY equals RY plus 3, because as you go down the Y coordinate, the numbers get bigger. So this is using a lot of the same ideas that we used last week in our survival game. So this is going to be really good practice for you to just make sure that you know what's happening and how to make certain commands happen. I would really recommend commenting your code. That way, if you want to go back and reference it later on, you can. Or if you have an error with your code, it's a lot easier to fix it if you have the comment in there. So you'd basically just put 2 slashes and then write whatever you want. So for this one, I can say like left paddle down, oh, that one's up. And then this one, left paddle down, right paddle up, right paddle down. Because you'll see as we're creating the game that sometimes errors come up that you aren't expecting, or that like you forgot to test something after you did it. Like I forgot to test these paddles to make sure they worked, and they do. And if you forget to test something, sometimes it can be really hard to go back into your code later on and figure out what you did wrong. So I'm going to just take this time to fill in my rectangles. Maybe I'll make them each a different color. That could be fun. You guys don't have to do this. Just giving you time to catch up. Is that going to be too light? Looks pretty good. And I'm going to do no stroke with a capital S, T-R-O-K-E, because I don't really like the outlines on shapes. If you've watched me do one of these before, you probably know that. But just trying to get rid of those outlines, and I think it looks pretty good. So now the keys work. It can, your paddles can go off the screen, but I'm going to say that that's okay for now, because if you have your paddle go off the screen, it doesn't benefit you in any way. That's one of the reasons that we really had to fix it in the survival game, because that's a really easy way to cheat the game. But in this case, it would only be bad for you if you went off the screen, because you're trying to like basically block your net. All right, so let's make our enemy now. So let's go back up where we declare our variables, and we're going to make a variable called ball x that equals, what is the middle line here? Ooh. 300, then a variable for ball y that equals probably negative, 250. Does that make sense? Let's make that 100. All right, and then you want to make a variable for x speed equaling 4 and y speed equaling 3. So the reason that we do an x speed and a y speed is the same reason that we do it, or we did it in survival last week. So basically you need to have positive and negative speed. If I were to take a step forward, it would be a positive step. If I were to take a step backwards, that's negative speed. So basically what you want to do is be able to control that x and y, because we're going to be changing the direction of our balls, because they're going to be able to bounce off of the paddle. So next thing we want to do is create our actual enemy. Right, we can do that right here. We're going to make it an ellipse, E-L-L-I-P-S-E, at ball x, comma, ball y. And then I'm going to make it size 50, comma 50. There it is. And I'm going to just fill it in with a different color. Let's make it, maybe I'll make it kind of hard to see. That would be a fun, I think this is the actual, oh, there we go. Kind of blend in, make it like a little bit harder maybe. Yeah, I don't really like that. It's not really the best for showing you guys how to do this either. So let's change that. Let's make it pink. Feeling the pink today. All right. There we go. Okay, so now that we have our enemy ball in there, ready to go, we need to make it so that the ball actually moves. So we need to find a way to attach ball x and x speed and ball y and y speed. And the way that we're going to do that is by adding them together. Hopefully you guys remember how to do this. It's basically the same way that we make something move. So we're going to say ball x equals ball x plus x speed. We're going to do the same thing for ball y, making it equal ball y plus y speed. All right, so take a minute to make sure that's all happening. I'm just going to look through the comments really quick. Okay, I think we are good. So the next thing that I'm going to do is check if the ball leaves the left or right side. This is where it would be really easy to have different scores set up. So if you wanted to set up like a score 1 for the pink team in this case, and a score 2 for the blue team, then this would be a really easy place to do that. You don't have to do that by any means. I'm going to show you how to do it without a score, and then if we have time at the end, I'll add a score in. And it looks like someone told me to make the ball smaller. I'm okay with that. Let's make the ball smaller. Let's make it 30, 30. Let's see how that looks. Ooh, okay. Good recommendation. I like it. Okay, so like I said, now we are going to check if it leaves the screen. So if ball X is greater than 600, then what I want to happen is I basically want the ball to start over. So you're going to find where you made that ball X and ball Y, and you're going to state it again, basically. So I made mine ball X equals 300, oops, and ball Y equaled 100, I think. Let me double check. Yes. So you can see now that it's starting over again, which is awesome. That's exactly what we want to happen. And another thing that you want to happen is basically if someone wins a point, this is where it might get a little confusing. If someone wins a point, we want the ball to go out on their side. We basically want the ball to be served to them. So we're going to make it so that x speed equals negative x speed. And when we add that in, you'll see that now it serves to the other person. We haven't set up what happens if the ball is, if it goes out the other way yet, so it's not like going back and forth, but let's do that right now. So outside of that set of curly brackets, we want to make another if statement that says if ball x is less than 0, then what we want to happen is ball x equals 300, ball y equals 100, and then x speed equals negative x speed again. So let's see, now it should serve, yep. So whoever won the point gets served the ball. Hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of like, I don't know, tennis and ping pong aren't really like that, so can't really use those, but this is how Pong is. Okay, so, another thing that we want to check is if it touches the top or the bottom of the sketch. So you'll notice as you play this that a lot of times it'll bounce off of your paddle, bounce up to the top, and then bounce back down to the person. So we want it to be able to bounce. So to make it bounce off of the walls like that, we're going to go down out of that if statement. We're going to make another if statement that is more about ball y this time. So if ball y is less than 0, then what we want to happen is we want the y speed to equal negative y speed. Basically, instead of the positive speed, it goes negative. So we can't really test that yet, but it does work. And we want the same thing to happen if ball y is greater than 400. So I'm going to show you how to link them up. So you can put in 2 straight lines, and that basically means or. And the straight lines are right underneath your backspace, most likely. So then you would just say, or ball y is greater than 400. So you can see how I used just those 2 lines to, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. That's easier to see. I'm going to use those 2 lines to indicate that it means or. So if ball y is less than 0 or ball y is greater than 400, then I want that to happen. Y speed is going to equal negative y speed. Okay. Let's see. Next up, is to make it so that it actually bounces off of the paddles instead of just going through them, which they are right now. So for this, we need to check distance. So if, and then a set of parentheses, dist, D-I-S-T, and then inside of the parentheses, I'm going to say the two coordinates that I want to check the distance between. So the x and the y coordinate of the first point, the x and the y coordinate of the second point that I want to check the distance between. So basically we want to do the distance between the paddle and between the ball. And this is why it's really important that we use rect mode center in this case, because rect mode center allows us to check the distance from the center of the rectangle. Otherwise, it would check the upper left-hand corner, unless we just did a little bit of like tricky math. But why do math if you don't have to in this case? So if dist in a set of parentheses between ball x and ball y and Lx and Ly is greater than, or is less than, sorry, let's start with 30. We might have to change that number and then make a set of curly brackets at the end. And what we want to happen here is we want the x speed to equal negative x speed. So we're using a lot of negative and positive speed here, so it's a lot of like give and take for this. And it looks like 30 is not the number that we're looking for. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. There we go, maybe like 45. So it's going to depend on how big your ball is, and yeah, I think that's working pretty well. Maybe I'll make it 40 and see. And then you can see as I move my paddle up and down, oops, so it's going right through it. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to play this for a second to check it. Okay, I think 40 is going to work for now. You might want to play around with that and just make it a bigger or smaller number, and there will be like a sweet spot where it works perfect every time. This isn't quite it, but that's okay. Then we're going to do the exact same thing for Rx and Ry. So if in a set of parentheses, dist, D-I-S-T, ball x, comma, ball y, and then Rx, comma, Ry is less than 40, then what we want to happen is x speed equals negative x speed. That's what it comes down to. Okay, so now it's bouncing off of the paddles, which is awesome. And that's pretty much it for the game. So what I'm going to recommend now is that we add a score in. So let me know in the text or in the chat box if you guys want me to add in the score, or if you'd rather me add in a you won, you lost screen. Because we did go over screens already, we haven't really gone over score. Maybe I'll just start by adding in the score. So, yeah, someone asked me to add in the score. Perfect. Okay, so for this project, you'll have to do two scores, right? We basically have the left score, we have the right score. So, I'm going to make a variable called L score, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. Then I'm going to make a variable for R score, and that'll be left score and then right score. So once you have your variable in for L score and R score, then we can go down and we basically want to add in some text for it. So I'm going to go back to where I made my paddles because I want these scores to be the same color as my paddles, just to make it easier for me to, identify them and know what's going on. I'll have them right above it, but it'll just look a little better. You can also have like a little score box in the middle that is more like a score box if you're watching like a sports game that has, the team name or the color and the score in one spot down at the bottom of the screen. This part, it's totally just design. It's up to you. So I'm going to have text, and then I'm going to say L score, and then I'm going to tell it where to go. So let's start with 50-50 and just see what it looks like. So the text is pretty small. It is almost not legible. So I'm going to copy this text font and text size that I used inside of gamescreen equals home, because normally it would apply to anything, but because we put it inside of the conditional statement, it's not applying down below. Okay, so that looks a lot better. So I'm going to move it down a little bit. I think instead of being 50-50, I'm going to do 50, and I'll do like 75. Maybe I'll just do no, I'll just can't decide. And I want it to match up a little bit more with my paddles, so I'm going to try 40. There we go, that's perfect. Okay, so then you're going to do the same thing for the R score, except this time you don't have to add in the text font and text size because those are already in there. So you're going to just write text, and then instead of parentheses, you're going to say R score, and then you're going to do, let's do 490, comma 100. Oh, that's not right. 75. $5.40. There we go. Okay, so I made a text for L score that's at 40, 75. Then I have a text for my R score that's at 540, 75. And I just like that they're lined up perfectly. I think that it looks nice, but that's totally up to you if you want to have them line up there, or if you want to have a score box down below. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is actually make it so that the score gets bigger and smaller. So this is where I want to go in to checking my distance, or not the distance, the X locations. So if the ball's X coordinate is greater than 600, so if the ball goes out over here, that's a score for the left side. So if it goes out the right side, it's a score for the left side. So in addition to changing my ball X, my ball Y, and my X speed, I'm also going to make it so that L score equals L score plus 1. And let's see if this works. There we go. So it went out on the right side, so I got a point on the left side. So we're going to do the same thing for if our ball's X coordinate is less than 0. So if it goes out the left side, that's a score for the right side. So we want to say R score equals R score plus 1. There we go. So now it's going to keep score for us. I can maybe try to play. And you can see that it doesn't work perfectly. There is some space that it will run over the paddle. And there's also some like jittering, like it kind of jitters on the paddle. It's almost like it's magnetic or something. It's just not going to be totally perfect, but if you get the distance down to a pretty good number, then it'll work really well. And it's still a playable game. It won't really like make it so that you lose, but as long as you're moving the paddle and aiming for the center of the paddle, it should work totally fine. It's super fun to play with more than one person. I'm going to make one more conditional statement in here. I'm going to check if the score is greater than a certain number. And that's what's going to allow me to have the have an end screen. So in this case, what I want to do is go right down below where we did our distance, and I'm going to say if L score is greater than 10, maybe I'll do 5, greater than 5, then what I want to happen is I want the game screen to equal L1. And I want to put that in quotation marks. Maybe I'll do L winner? Yeah. And you want to do the same thing for R. So if the R score is greater than 5 or whatever you want it to be to win, then the game screen is going to equal R winner. And the reason that I want to have 2 different game screens is so that it can say on it like blue team wins or pink team wins, or you know, so the game doesn't just abruptly end and you're like, I guess that someone won. You want to know who won. So I'm going to move down, and now I want to be outside of the curly bracket of if game screen equals play. So I like to close these guys up by clicking on the arrow keys to the left that's on the right side of the number line. So for the next game screen, I'm going to say if, in a set of parentheses, game screen equals, and then a set of quotation marks. And I'm going to say L winner, I think is what I called it. Let me double check. Yes, L winner. So that's one reason that keeping them open is good. L winner. So then you set some curly brackets, and this is where you can make like the background. Maybe I'll make the background the color of the winning team. So let's see. This one is if L wins, so if L were to win, then it would be that pink color. Let's find where I made that. Sorry, my computer's being a little bit slow. I think it's this one right here. So I'm going to make this background the same color as the paddle, and then I'm just going to have a little message on the screen. So let's do the text font as impact again, because remember, normally it'll reset and normally it'll follow whatever happened earlier on, but because we're having it specifically only happen when the game screen equals a certain parameter, it's not going to work in the same way it usually does. So for this one, I'm going to do text size 80 maybe? That might be way too big. Let's do 60. And I'm going to make it say pink team. Oh, you guys. Text, set of parentheses. Pink team. Let's do all caps. Pink team wins! Exclamation point. And this would be a great place for you to add in a play again button. If you finish this and you're like, oh, what else could I add in? Try adding in a play again button. That's a really good one to have available for people so that they don't have to refresh the screen. They can just click the button and play again. And then I'm going to make the fill color white for this. All right, so let's see if it works. This is if the pink team wins, so I'm basically just going to run my blue one off the screen. Ooh. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to move it to the left a little bit more. Instead of 150, I'll do 100. And then I actually noticed that it didn't happen until it was 6, and that's because I made it if it's greater than 5, so I'm going to make it if it's greater than or equal to. Okay, so then I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm actually just going to copy this because it's just so easy that I think you guys can do this. And I'm going to make it if the game screen equals our winner, and then I'm going to say blue team wins, and then I'm going to change that fill, and I'm going to make it the blue color. Okay, so let's go find that blue color. Alright, paste it in the background. Did I lose something? I don't think so. Okay, so I think that that did what I wanted it to do. So now I'm going to just let this guy win. There we go. Blue team wins. And then, like I said, this would be a great place for you to add in a play again button. I'm not going to do it today just because we're running a little bit low on time, but this is a great idea if you want to add some more pizzazz to your project, I guess. Alright, so we're going to leave the last 30 minutes or so for you guys to submit your projects if you want to share them. We want to make a video of just student projects, so you can choose to submit this one or you can choose any project that you've done before. So in the description, so right underneath the video, it should have a link where you can go to share your videos. I might be able to, I don't have it open, but I can try to share it in the chat as well. It's just a really easy form, just ask you what your name is and what school you go to, I think, and then I'm going to show you guys how to share your project properly. So if you want to share your project with us, really pay attention right now. This is super important. You're going to want to go back. Oops. This is not going to work. All right, there we go. You've all shared the link in the description or in the text chat box. Okay, yeah, everything's saved. So here is how you share the link to your project. You want to click the exit button, find your project, click on the 3 dots to the right of it, and then press the share button. When you generate the link right here, it'll actually allow you to share this link with other people so that they can view your project. If you just copied the URL up here, it's not going to work. It's not going to be the same as sharing it with us in a way that we can play it. So when you make games like this, it's really fun to make it so that you can share it with other people. But if you guys do it the wrong way, unfortunately, they won't be able to see it. So if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, go look at some of the other videos that we've created for you guys. So on YouTube, we have a full playlist of advanced projects for you guys to work on. We have, I think that I saw some questions about doing hide and seek. That one's not on there yet, but we are making a video for it, so it should be up before next week. Also, let me know if there's a project that you guys want to do next week. I saw that Jonathan said the color picker. I'm wondering if he means the paint app or if he means Let me look. I think we do have a color picker project for you guys. But yeah, like the Magic 8 Ball is one that is already up. We're working on one for Flappy Bird. We're working on a video for how to do gravity. We did one for the paint with buttons. That one should be on there. We're going to do one for the dice app also, which is a super fun one to have, especially right now, so that you can play games with your family, even if you don't have a set of dice at home and you want to play a dice-related game. And then I'm going to try to open up some of your guys' projects if you submit them. So I'm going to open up tab and check it out. And then I'll just like refresh this and have it just keep playing. Oops, didn't want to do that. Clear canvas. Okay, I'm going to go check out the form. See if anyone submitted their projects. Alright, so I don't see anyone's projects yet, but as I see the projects starting to come in, I'll put them up on the screen. But use this as a time to ask any questions that you want to. If you want to ask a more complicated question, I can answer it over the video. If you want to ask an easier question, you can put it in the comments and we can just respond to it. But yeah, take this as a chance to submit your projects if you want to, ask any questions, let us know what you want videos for. I really appreciate the couple of you that have already said in the comments what you want videos of. That is super, super helpful for us as we are working to make more and more projects available for you guys. And yeah, definitely check out our YouTube channel. We have a ton of projects. I can show you guys actually, I think. Yeah, let's see. See if it'll let me open another. So Jonathan, I saw you ask for the color picker. Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about from your book? If it's on a certain page, let me know. I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it. So let me know exactly which one you want to do. And we'll either do it or we'll have a project uploaded for it. All right, so any of you who haven't yet, go to our Code Naturally page, go to the playlists, and we have a ton of playlists set up for you. So we have an introduction to advanced, we have advanced projects that has 6 videos in it. We have any of our live streams, so if you weren't in here for the last class, then you can go back and do that one. There's a set for beginners, maybe if like you have a friend who wants to get started coding and they've never done it before, you can let them know that all of these are free and online for them to take advantage of. Or if you have like an older or younger sibling, those are great for them. So use your resources. Trying to think of what else. Seems like there's some good ideas going on in the chat. Alright, you guys, so as of right now, I'm just going to turn my camera off and we're just going to be answering questions that come up in the chat. If something more complicated comes up, then I'll turn the camera back on and we'll be here until 4 o'clock to answer questions or provide any extra info or anything that you need help with. So just let us know.